All right, everybody. Joining me today is Probal Lala. Probal is a telecom exec turned serial tech entrepreneur and investor. He has over 30 years leadership experience in roles that include CEO of About Communications, VP of Sales at Alcatel-Lucent Canada, CEO of Auroras, and he has been an active angel investor for the past 12 years. He's also been a panelist for several years on BNN's The Pitch. Today, he is CEO of Fluent.ai, which we are lucky enough to call a client of Uproar PR. So thank you for joining me, Probal.
Thanks, Catriona. Really appreciate being here.
So, at a high level, Fluent.ai develops intuitive speech technology and voice recognition solutions for a range of consumer electronic devices. Can you tell me a bit more about the company and where you guys are at today?
Absolutely. So, as its name implies, Fluent.ai is an artificial intelligence company. We were founded in 2016, and our mission is really we voice enable the world's devices. So you may wonder, what does that actually mean? So if you happen to be an elevator company in today's environment and looking at, you don't really want to touch those buttons, right? Or you happen to be looking at malls and kiosks as they recover, and you have these touch terminals, well, you want maybe to voice enable these. Typical solutions today require online and massive processing. What we do is provide an embedded, very secure, multilingual solution that people can deploy. When looking for solutions like that, around the world, there's only, I'll say, I can measure in this hand how many companies there are that provide that sort of a solution. And Fluent is obviously one of them. And we are 25 strong in terms of employees. And even with COVID, we continue to grow, and we'll be in approximately 2 million devices by the end of 2021, despite COVID.
That's fantastic, and certainly timely with COVID as well. So that should help the business grow, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So you have a very impressive background. What drew you to Fluent? I mean, you've been at all of these amazing companies, a tech entrepreneur. What brought you to Fluent?
So I'll almost say it's more as an angel investor. I've invested in a number of technology companies, but Fluent is sort of unique in not only just in terms of having very, very bright people and the culture there, but they were tackling a problem that's been around for a long while in terms of voice recognition, but in a very, very unique way that allows them to compete when you're talking about voice enabling the Internet of Things, or very, very small, unconnected devices. So in a traditional world for voice recognition, voice is converted into text. The text is sent to the cloud. There's a large database lookup, and a lot of servers do a lot of processing to take that text and convert it into some form of meaning. Fluent goes directly from acoustic, so the sound, to action. So it completely bypasses that cloud solution and going to text and conversion. And the technology actually was started as a research project out of the University of Leuven in Belgium. And we secured the IP there. And the university project actually was tied to people with speech impediments. The problem they were trying to solve is, how do you turn a grunt into something intelligible? So the team at Fluent actually took that research, combined it with machine learning work that was being done out of the University of Toronto to create a model that really goes from speech to intent, or acoustic to action, and that allows for the delivery of very, very small and embedded voice recognition solutions that work in highly noisy environments, but more importantly, it operates across multiple languages. We are language agnostic, and that really gives us quite a competitive advantage. Now, if I were to add what actually drove me, the final piece is I'll say it's something a little bit more futuristic. The folks at Fluent still think I'm crazy when I mention this, but imagine if you're, I don't know if you're a pet owner, a dog or a cat or not.
Two dogs.
Two dogs. So, and the names are?
Buddy and Miles.
So if Buddy or Miles were able to have collars such that when they bark, the collar actually now responds with how they're feeling, what they want. As a pet parent, wouldn't that be fantastic?
That'd be pretty incredible.
So the neat thing about acoustic to action type technology or speech to intent, and this, what I'm talking about is truly futures, but it's the ability to take a vocalization and turn it into meaning. Be a lot more immediate is a baby crying. Are they crying because they're hungry, because they're unhappy, etc.? These are the sort of things that the technology allows. And that's what attracted me to the company.
That's fantastic. So we were lucky enough to start working with you not that long ago, just ahead of CES. What was it you were looking for in a PR firm when you happened upon Uproar?
So a key requirement for me and us, my head of sales and marketing, she and I had a long discussion around a PR firm has to be a true partner. They actually have to be someone who are part of our team, and they're not tactical, they're strategic. They have to be ones that take a look at an overall objective from a brand perspective, turn that into a complete communication strategy, and then implement the tactics and work with us, because we are not experts in that area. So that was a critical element in terms of the interview process, I would say, in terms of looking for a PR firm.
That's great to hear. You know, I know we always say we do our best work when we become an extension of your team, right? If you have a small marketing team, a large marketing team, we just want to become part of that team and be true partners. I know our team has felt very positive about the partnership that we have with you. Can you give me a little insight on what that's like to work with Uproar as a PR partner?
Absolutely. So you are very much a part of our team. We have weekly meetings with your team, and we discuss priorities for the upcoming. Well, let me take a step back. When you started, you very much delivered on our need to have someone who's taking our brand messaging. So really to voice enable the world's devices. What does that mean? And your team actually spent a fair amount of time kicking the tires to try and understand what it is we do, to really understand the details, not just the positives, but the negatives, and so have a full appreciation so that they could deliver value to us. From there, we created a communications plan that sort of said, all right, we want to get into certain media. It was more general media to just build our brand recognition, but also certain publications that would help us with customers. And your team, every week as we approach a vertical, the thought was, where do we want to go? What are brainstorming certain ideas, working a very specific plan, an action plan, and then keeping each other accountable to the deliveries from the previous week. And what I have been so impressed with is that every single person on the Uproar team is so focused on our success. And I know we are a small client with reference to other clients, yet we always feel like we are your only client. And that really makes a huge difference in terms of having team members like that.
Thank you. We had only started working together about 6 months ago. You know, I mentioned CES wasn't that long ago, but of course, COVID has jumped in and played such a strong role in the world for probably about a third of that time. But given that short time frame, how do you feel that your PR campaign has positively impacted your business, you know, just in that short time?
Well, it's actually had a huge impact in terms of our brand recognition. We've always been fortunate enough with the technology that we have and the solution we're providing that there's a large number of global OEMs that have been chasing us. But what we hadn't done is gotten on the more general radar, especially from an investment perspective. And as a result of taking sort of the mission of voice enabling the world's devices and getting that message across in terms of distilling the fact that to do so, people need to understand that we are in the space of being embedded, not the online space. The fact that we are really highly reliable in a multilingual, multi-accent solution taking that, and then what your team allowed us to do is say, for every single vertical, whether it be hospitality, whether it be really looking at the home automation, needed to understand what are the pain points in these areas and how do you actually provide the right messaging for those particular verticals. And in particular, the Uproar team has been amazing at researching pain points, data points, so that we become a trusted resource in these vertical our wares, but it really is how can we provide a solution to a particular industry. And to that end, I think we had 7 particular media events in coverage. The biggest one would have been digital trends. I think we had 2 million in terms of live viewership on that. We're still working on a very large national paper. And in actual fact, you may not be aware of this, just last week, Gartner named us as one of the cool vendors to watch in the voice recognition space. And I am 1,000% certain that that was as a result of the work that the Uproar team did.
Oh, congratulations. That's a big win.
Thank you.
My next question kind of comes from that, and you touched on it a bit, but you do have a lot of key verticals that you're going after, and talking about how PR can help you as a company better understand some of those key messages and how they fit into different verticals is really important. From my understanding, it seems like the hotel industry really took off first from our PR campaign, and we were able to really utilize some of that key messaging around your embedded solution to make Fluent more on the radar of some of those key decision makers. Can you talk to me a bit about that?
Absolutely. I think one of the interesting things is, again, we may have a large vision, but to actually distill requirements by industry vertical. So understanding that from a hospitality perspective, it's a very long technology cycle. They don't change their technology every year. Because of that, they again needed some thought leadership in terms of what does it mean from a overall hospitality perspective. They're all going keyless, and in today's environment, it's even more so in terms of touchless and keyless. But pre-COVID, they were already going keyless and looking at a customer experience. And so in working with the Uproar team, it was how can we deliver our messaging around embedded, high reliability, multilingual, to say, how does it fit in helping the hospitality industry improve their experience for their guests? And by sort of looking at keyless door entry, or potentially talking about the future of not just voice recognition, but speaker recognition. If I approach a Marriott door and say it's Probal, it should actually be able to recognize my voice, open the room, set my temperature settings in that room, and provide me a valet or white glove service, all based on my voice print. So it was getting that thought process to say, how does our tech actually fit the needs of hospitality? That worked fairly well. And as a result, actually, Kirsten, our head of sales, told me that a hotel in Ireland has approached us to say, how might we use a Fluent solution in this regard?
Well, that's incredible. That's PR working. I love it. I don't want to take too much of your time. Are there any other comments or thoughts before we close out?
Absolutely, and I don't want to sound too much like an ad, but at the end of the day, I've always believed how you treat your employees is how they treat their clients, and Uproar must treat their employees very well, because as I said earlier, we know that we're not by any means your largest client, but we are treated as if we are your only client. And if I were to say anything beyond PR, you might actually want to go into teaching people about customer acquisition and dealing with customer relationships and culture management, because obviously you have an amazing culture. And there isn't a day that I don't have a chance to talk to a startup and just speak your praises. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank your team.
Thank you. That is so kind to say. And I have to tell you, our team feels the same way about you. They look forward to the calls for sure.
That is fabulous.
Well, thank you for your time today, Probal. And, we look forward to keeping in touch and seeing if we can have more of these chats in the future.
Absolutely, Catriona. Thank you.